Originally, we were going to talk about something else, but there was a sad tragedy that recently happened. Unfortunately, the passing of Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle, and also a lot of love and condolences to the families. You know what I mean?
Coming straight off of slumps, a crazy motherfucker named Nipsey.
Yo, my brother knows, Snappy Don, already. You're the man that put me on Nipsey back then still, We were just chilling, one day. We were youths, we were balling up, I think a split for a backwards. My brother's like, yo, you never heard of this guy named Nipsey? I'm like, who's Nipsey?
Bro.
Yo, the man put on 2 bangers. I was like, all live. And after that, we were just running Nipsey all day.
He had that real gritty West Coast off top, one of the most grittiest you know what he kind of reminded me of? Ice Cube.
No,
almost.
He reminded me of a young Snoop. That's what he reminded me of. Because him and Snoop had the same. Not the same attitude, but kind of the same energy. Back then when I knew him, he was like how he taught. You could tell. He was gonna be on the shits that he was on right now.
No, he sold the $100 albums or whatever way back in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I remember hearing Jay-Z bought 100 of them or something like that, and then you just hear about this guy making noise going forward. He's dropping victory lap, getting Grammy nominated. Going into the summer, he's supposed to make projects with guys like YG and Meek Mill. He was prospering. This guy was. People thought his career was done just a couple years ago. And I remember I used to hear people saying that this guy was washed.
I kept in touch, see what he was doing. Even though he wasn't making music, he was more on the business thing. You know what I mean?
He was an entrepreneur, bro.
He was more on buying property and uplifting his people, you know what I mean? But I remember Nipsey, I seen an interview with Nipsey. Nipsey was talking about it and he was like, yeah, we should all be doing something like this. We should be putting our money into stuff like this, more than material stuff, because you know what I mean?
Because, you gotta educate yourself on what you're putting your money in, right? You can't relatively just start putting your money into Bitcoin and not know what Bitcoin is.
No, do your research.
Do your research, of course, but Nipsey was speaking to people who had some intellect to them, people who carry themselves a certain type of way. For me, I've always related to Nipsey. There's a lot of people who, to this day, don't even understand who Nipsey is and why he meant so much to certain people. He was praised by guys like Jay and pushed him back into the mainstream. It was because of his peers. His peers valued him so much because they thought he was so real. They put him back in the forefront. Even though he had the talent and all of that, I really think his greatest talents were highlighted because his peers really believed in him and they genuinely cared about him.
Kind of life's fucked up. Just say it like that. Life's fucked, bro.
Yeah.
1 minute someone's here, next minute, poof, gone. But
you know what's crazy? Even when he had passed, you don't feel like the person's dead. Their energy, he was one of those guys where he's so wise. He's so
he's low key,
ahead of his time.
He's low key. He's not with the drama. He's not with the media. He does his thing, but
no, it's not even that. He's kind of seemed like he's untouchable. He looked honestly if you grow up how we grew up, that's how you want to be at 30.
Royalty, more like a kid,
you want to be
kid.
established. You'd want to be prestigious. This guy was prestigious. He had some acclaim to him. This guy was certified, in my opinion. What I knew him for, my closest, thing with him is my clothing line. I had a little clothing run I had back in the day when I was younger. And a lot of the stuff, I remember me and Kamal had just sat down. We were talking about, how we want to present certain information about our clothing. And Nipsey was already doing it, and I remember him looking at me being wow, this guy's innovative, he's pushing a whole new generation, and that was something that I really appreciated him for. Yet again, larger than life, right? There's a lot of things about him that seem so alive. Even when you hear him speak, he's so intellectual, right? And so his words his energy doesn't seem like it's dormant, but like, you know, this is the same person who's feeding your community.
Exactly. Rebuilding the community.
Right?
You know?
And then when you lose someone in that instance, it's like, you lose your faith in humanity.
You've affected everyone else that he touches in life, you know what I mean? Not only his family, not only his fans, but like the families that like would go to that same store and buy like essentials that they couldn't afford somewhere. You know, maybe like the youth that may be homeless or displaced and they need a prepaid phone so they can get in contact with people and things like that. You know, you took out someone that was affecting the community in a positive way. You know, and I feel like it sets them back in a way, but like, of course they're gonna have that resiliency to like still grow past it.
Does success equal more hate?
I'd say so, because jealous one's envy. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of people in life they probably want like fancy cars, the diamonds. You know, it's like when you get up to a certain point, there's gonna be people that want that same spot, and it goes back to even like a Jay-Z line where he says like, if I shoot you, I'm brainless, but if you shoot me, then you're famous. What's that to do? You know, and when you ask that question to anybody, like, it's a double-edged sword. Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I think more people need to realize that we shouldn't be jealous. That we should be like motivated. That hey, someone that was in that same situation that they get uprising. Maybe I could be that same type of person and then get past these barriers.
A lot of these people don't really know what we lost. It was more of a righteous speaker, like something that you took away from the person after you were done listening to. And in the era of where a lot of the stuff lacks substance, it's just saturated. Like, you get so much shit now. It's like when you have too much to eat.
Yeah.
There's just too much food. And then it's just like, there's just too much. And it's all just there. And it's just like, fuck, I'm constantly getting this. It's like, when do you get a chance to breathe? It's like, there's not too much stuff that really gives you, real like nutrition, like real like stuff that you can add to your lifestyle. And that was Nipsey. Like, there's only so many guys out there in the world that really capture your attention on that level. And that was Nipsey Hussle. So that definitely, like, this guy is very awe-inspiring to any young male, to any minority. You could definitely learn something off of this guy. Very influential. In the next 10 years, I'd want to be like him. Like, I'm in a very similar stage in my life to where he was just 10 years ago. And I went and I looked at that video again and I was just like, yo, like what a guy that is. Like, I wish I could be like him. So for me, Hustle in the House. And two other songs, Hustle and Motivate. I always play that track. Last time that I checked, those go 2 and 3 for me, personally.
True.
For you?
For me, I have to say Hustle in the House too. And what's up banger? Oh my gosh.
There's some bangers out there, bro. Like, so there's some that like people don't even pay attention to.
Oh
like,
my gosh, yo. Frick.
Dedication with Kendrick.
Nah, yo. It's not coming to my head, boy.
They Roll with the Game. I have so many favorite Nipsey songs. Like, Fuck Donald Trump. Like, that's like a sleeper. Like, everybody forgets like YG did that track when Nipsey was on it. There's so many sleeper tracks. He's had a track with Neo before. I used to listen to him with The Game coming up. And the thing with me for Nipsey Hussle was when he was coming up, I was a kid, I was like 13. And I used to look at this guy, I used to think he was like an older generational rapper, like a Warren G or a Nate Dogg. I thought he was much older than what I perceived. So when I like seen this guy in like 2014 making noise again, I'm like, I thought this guy was washed, like a one-hit wonder, but like he just kept, he was going. And the crazy part is, when I was listening to him, stuff like Hustle in the House, like you go and you listen to it again, he literally did everything he said he would do. And in those tracks, he literally did everything he said he was gonna do.
And of course, you gotta like make sure you follow this guy like on the gram, like what is it, Don Pablo with 597. That's the account for the drip. That's the drip account right there. You know, make sure you're following that. Don't forget to follow Marky the Dirty Don 12 on Instagram as well too. Call him. You know what I mean? Gotta get them followers up, some likes up as well. And you can follow me as well, JC89. Follow me on the gram. You get a couple pictures here and there. Whoever's clever. We hope that you enjoy all of the content.